Welcome to everybody that is here so far. Thank you so much for joining us today, and happy Friday and happy last day of the month for September. Crazy. So we have the affiliate and federal affiliate town hall agenda bash. I am Talitha McGinnis. I am the Community Engagement Program Manager for affiliates and federal affiliates. And so this is the agenda for our session. George Loftus will be presenting about our Cloud Connect offerings, and then we have some community updates. And just a couple quick shout outs, if you will, upcoming events that we have that I wanted to share with you all. We have what is called the Internet to Inclusivity Initiative Scholarship. It is an opportunity for women within our community at our different organizations to be able to attend our conferences, our annual conferences. So we have the TechX coming up, and the scholarship allows for them to come, and we help provide for travel and lodging and all of that stuff. And it allows them to attend one of our events for the first time. So if you have anyone that you want to nominate, the nomination is available out on our website, and we encourage you to do so. It's a great opportunity. Then we also have the Leadership Exchange coming up on October 25th in Denver, Colorado. And we have the Technology Exchange coming up in December. So if you are interested, we would love to have you there. All right, so interest of time, I want to kick it over to George.
Well, thank you, Talitha. First of all, thank you for gathering the affiliates group together. It's really great to see folks together and be able to talk about some of the different services and to hear about your stories about what you're doing and the capabilities you have. I just really want to plug the scholarship and the initiative thing that Talitha brought up earlier. There were just really great stories from folks who attended the sessions, and they sort of, create an alumni and an alumni network. They get a great experience and work closely with people, and we make sure they're engaged and they're taken care of, and they're integrated into the program. And we've seen some great results from that. So if you have an opportunity to nominate somebody or think somebody would benefit from it, I encourage you wholeheartedly. It's been a great program with great support from people like Marla and other members of our board. So please take advantage of it if you can. I'm here to talk to you a little bit about networking for cloud. This is a capability that's available to all Internet 2 members and affiliate members, basically anybody who's connected to our network. I know we have some affiliate members who are members of Internet 2, but do not have cloud connectivity. If you fit into one of those categories, then this will not be available to you right now, but maybe you'll hear something that will entice you to perhaps explore, connecting to the network and to take advantage of these kind of capabilities. But if you connect to the network, either as a federal agency that directly connects to us, or if you connect through one of our regional networks, such as FRGP in Colorado or Scenic in California or NYSERNet in New York, you can take advantage of this capability. It's really integrated with our regional networks and everybody who connects to us. I'm going to walk you through some of the different services we offer in offering networking access for the cloud. Sort of our mantra here is that we don't feel we need to be your only cloud solution. We just like to be part of your cloud solution, because you're going to see that we have some capabilities here that are available to you at no additional fees from Internet 2. And that might provide you some opportunities for reliability and resiliency as you look at the way you put your solutions together. So there are three main services that we talk about in getting to the cloud. And I'll introduce them to you, and then I'll just do a little bit of a deeper dive as we go into each of them as we proceed. So our first is I2PX, which stands for the Internet 2 Peer Exchange. This is available to all members, and if you're connected to the Internet 2 network, you probably are using this today. This looks similar to the commodity internet. You're able to get to lots of different software as a service providers. So If you're on the Internet 2 network and you're on the Zoom call, you might be using I2PX to get to Zoom. Or if you have Office 365, we have a peering arrangement with many, many providers of services, and that comes as part of I2PX. So it's very heavily used. I've got lots of capacity. We'll talk more about that in a minute. Right. The next is Internet 2 Cloud Connect. And this is really for folks who want to leverage their Internet 2 connection, their regional infrastructure or their own infrastructure, right, to connect directly to the 4 cloud providers whose logos you see at the top of the screen. We do this at no additional fee. You can get up to 5 gigabits of access for direct connect. We'll talk about this in detail, right? There's no additional fees to Internet 2. Sometimes there's a small fee to your regional provider. And of course, you're going to have to pay the piper and the cloud provider when you get there. But we'll talk about when you might want to use Cloud Connect versus Peer Exchange as we go forward. And our last one is our Rapid Private Interconnect. And this is actually obtaining a port that allows you to leave the Internet 2 network and connect to anybody you want to connect to who's co-located in these 4 cities. We'll talk about how you can use this service for multiple things. It's also used to connect to those very same 4 cloud providers if you want more than 5 gig of connectivity. There's a small fee for using our I2PI, small annual fee. We'll talk about when we get there. So, I2PX, this is our peering service. This was designed from the ground up. If you're a community network here, your government or library, you will go through, or you're an affiliate, right? In the case that you're going to a regional, where the word affiliate is there, that's where your regional network would be, right? So if you're in Colorado, you'll be going to FRGP there. If you're in Scenic, if in New York, you're going through NiserNet. But you'll take advantage of all the capability that the affiliate network has, right? And then you'll also be able to take advantage of I2PX. And we peer with lots of different services there. We basically just do good network engineering, figure out where people are using services heavily, and we make sure that those different providers are connected to our network. So you see a sample of some of the different folks and different services that we have provided there. Again, this is probably happening for you, automatically. Your network engineers are probably established this so that you can easily take advantage of this. And we constantly upgrade who we connect to and the speeds at which we connect them. We just upgraded our network. So almost all of these different peers that we're connecting with are at 100 gigabits. So lots of capacity and a nice direct line to gain access. Also means you're not paying money to a commodity provider like AT&T or Verizon or somebody to go over their network to get to these resources. Now, Cloud Connect takes advantage of a different service that the cloud providers offer that allows you to directly connect to them. And this is often known as infrastructure as a service. People tend to use this service more when they are perhaps moving an application that was running on in their campus environment or in their organization. Maybe you are running an Oracle database that has now been put out into Oracle Cloud, or perhaps you're running your Active Directory, right, for Azure. Maybe your backup Active Directory is in Azure, or you've got storage in AWS. So this allows you to have a direct connection through the affiliate network and through Cloud Connect, and really reduces the latency. It puts a definitive path between you and the cloud provider. You're not going out to the internet and kind of wandering through the internet to get to the cloud provider. So folks who have performance requirements, latency requirements, oftentimes people who have an application that's very transactional, they'll move to this, they'll move to Cloud Connect, and they'll move to infrastructure as a service. If, for instance, you want the cloud component to look like it's on your network in your organization or your campus, this is a solution for you. And sometimes people build a solution with Cloud Connect to connect to these cloud providers, and their backup is I2PX. They keep that previous model we looked at. So they do a they have 2 different connections in. We'll talk about how you can leverage Cloud Connect a little bit differently for resiliency as well. You can gain access to these resources in these 4 cities around the country: Ashburn, Chicago, Dallas, and San Jose. Ashburn and Dallas is you see have 4 dots. That's because we have Oracle Fast Connect in those 2 locations. We connect to all of the providers at 100 gig at this point. I probably need to update this slide. Everybody is connected, at least in some places, at 100 gig. And what's nice about being part of the Internet 2 backbone and working with your regional network providers is that you can get to any one of these sites on the backbone, and there's no difference in fees or charges, right? Everything is local. So if you're in the Midwest and Chicago is likely where you're going to go for your primary connectivity, you could also have a backup connection in Dallas, and there's no difference. There's no additional cost for you to get to Dallas to use that. Or if you're in Ashburn, you can have Chicago as your backup. So we have lots of options for resiliency within each city. Every city is redundant and has 2 routers to connect into every single provider, but you'd also go to different cities. And as a member of Internet 2, you can get up to 5 gigabits of capacity to any provider in any of these cities. So you could have 5 gigs in Ashburn to Amazon, and 5 gigs to Ashburn in Chicago, and 5 gigs to Microsoft in Dallas if you choose, right? We're really all about using the backbone investment you've already made to get to these cloud providers and to connect to them. We often tell people to actually start a little smaller. People who say, I think I need 5 gig, we'll often tell them, try 1 or 2 and see if that suffices, because we have found that people often do not need all the capacity they initially think they need. And it's easy to grow up, right? You can move from 1 to 2 or 2 to 5. It's not as easy to go down. You really have to take everything apart and start again. The other reason we tell people to do that is you're paying the cloud provider a fee based on the size of your connectivity. So why not start out at 1 or 2, maybe keep your cloud costs down as you move forward. We can connect you at layer 2 or layer 3. I know this is getting a little techie, and I won't dive into this too much, but a layer 2 connection simply means that your campus network, your router on your campus or your organization passes through the regional network, passes through the Internet 2 backbone, and peers directly with the cloud provider. So if you want to do this with AWS, we would build this for you for AWS. If you want to go to Microsoft, we'd build another one for you to Microsoft, and so on. So we have this capability to leverage these regional and Internet 2 backbone networks. If you choose to go layer 3, we'll support that as well. We do it a little bit differently. Now you see with the arrows, with the peering arrows, is that the member router is going to peer with an Internet 2 router. And that Internet 2 router talks to all the different, will make the connections to all the different cloud providers that you want to talk to of the 4 we carry. And that allows you to just talk to one router, the Internet 2 router, and we'll handle the traffic to all the others. Where this becomes very flexible. As I told you in the previous model, we would have built 4 different connections for you. In this case, we can use a single connection. The other advantage is if you want to use Active Directory in Azure to get to and support your storage in AWS, that traffic only goes from the cloud provider to the Internet 2 router, and back to the other cloud provider. It doesn't take that green line all the way back to your network and then all the way back to the other cloud provider. So this is a multi-cloud router solution. It's very popular when you're working with multiple different cloud providers and you think you're going to be working with multiple cloud providers. It's definitely a consideration on whether you're going to do layer 2 or layer 3. Your network folks will understand just what I'm talking about, and it's a very, very powerful feature that our members really take advantage of and are appreciative of. Really helps with performance and latency. And rapid private interconnect, this is really you obtaining a 10 gig port that allows you to get off our network in those 4 cities and let you connect to anybody that you want to. So if you need more than 5 gigs, you can procure an RPI port, and we'll provide the cross connect from in Ashburn, Chicago, Dallas, or San Jose. And we'll connect you to any of the cloud providers that we've listed, or even if they're not listed on our Cloud Connect. We can connect you to someone who's doing a SIP telephone service. We have a regional network that connects their members to a esports exchange. So as long as the other provider is in the same facility that we're in, this is a simple cross connect, and we can get you off the network and connect to folks that you may want to connect to. Like I said, there is a small annual fee to Internet 2. It's somewhere around $7,500 a year for 10 gig, but you are likely to also see some fees from your regional network provider as well to get you there. But this is very popular. I'd say we got about 40 to 50 different members taking advantage of the RPI service. We have over 170 members, schools, that are taking advantage of the Cloud Connect service And they do that with the help of 24 of our regional network providers to make that connectivity happen. Again, RPI is available in the same 4 cities. There's plans for expansion in the future, perhaps Seattle, perhaps New York, but this is where we provide it today. Just to wrap up, because I give you a lot of material in a short period of time with a lot of names, but just to remind you, and I like to put this slide back in, this is the one we started with. So I like to bring it back so to remind people. Internet to peer exchange is our public peer exchange service. You're probably taking advantage of this today. If not, you should look into it. There's no additional fee, very simple to set up, no particular difficult routing capabilities, and you'll gain access to a lot of different providers through the Internet to exchange. You have access to a lot of these providers through your regional exchanges as well. Internet to Cloud Connect is when you're looking for infrastructure as a service. You want that direct connection that you own to those 4 cloud providers: Amazon, Google, Microsoft, and Oracle. Oracle's a new member of the Cloud Connect family for us. There's no fee from Internet 2 for that access. And you can work with, you do have the cloud provider fees, and you may have some small fees from your regional provider or none. Many regional providers just pass that right through. And then rapid private interconnect. That's when you want to connect to somebody other than those 4. You have a direct connection request that you want, or you want more than 5 gigs to the 4 listed above. Those are the solution sets that we bring to our members. We hope you can take advantage of it. I haven't mentioned this, but there's no terms on any of this on the Cloud Connect pieces. So if you've got a project, a pilot project, if you want to just get started in the cloud, if you've got a small sample thing you want to do for 3 months or 6 months, you can bring these things up. We have a portal that allows you to bring them up very easily. You can bring them up, you can tear them down. It's a great opportunity to sort of figure out how you want to take advantage of some of these different cloud services. It's also just a great thing to put in place for redundancy. If you're very happy with the way you're connected to the cloud now, maybe you want to look at Cloud Connect and set it up in case something happens to your primary connection. You'll have some resiliency. Thank you for your time. I know I went through a lot of material very quickly. We're here to help you with any questions you may have. Just reach out at Cloud Connect request at Internet 2. We can provide you with videos. We can provide you with more information. We can have you sit with our engineers, or your engineers sit with our engineers. We've done it quite a bit. We've solved quite a few problems for folks, and we'd be very happy to work with you and solve any problems or issues you might have in your cloud journey. So with that, I'll turn it back to Talitha. Wasn't able to see the questions piece. Are there questions we should answer?
Justin did put in the chat he would be curious to learn about common use cases for those services that were mentioned early on.
If you want to drop a line in the Cloud Connect request, we'd be happy to do that. We've got all kinds of cases. If you're going to the cloud, we probably covered every particular reason. So Cloud Connect is often people that are doing latency sensitive issues, or they've got their like I said, Oracle is a case where Oracle has moved people's databases from being on-premise to into the cloud. So people want that direct connectivity. So they get the kind of response they would get if they were, I can probably stop sharing so I can see people. So you get the kind of response that you need. For RPI, we've had people, like I said, they'll do it so they can get to an esports exchange and make connectivity. And the thing to remember here, I think, is that we can get you to the cloud. Between Internet 2 and whoever you're working with to get to Internet 2, we could work with you on a solution. It's not about selling you anything. It's about leveraging your membership and the investment you've already made, right? And everybody has different requirements. So we've got a really hands-on approach here. We're happy to work with people and walk you through it. If you just leave this session knowing that you've got the ability to connect to the cloud through your regional and Internet 2, just ask us and we'll be happy to help you answer your questions and walk you through it. We do it all the time. Happy to do it. And we can try to make it as painless as possible.
George, I guess I just add as a regional that, most regionals by default, you're going to get I2PX if you're part of a regional, and you may not even know that.
Right.
We do statistics for the Quilt as regionals, and we split the traffic up that way, showing how much is going to I2 kind of proper, how much is going to peering, and how much is going to commercial commodity providers and other peerings we may have. But we actually have pretty amazing statistics that, when we connect somebody, a university, probably 50 to 60% of their traffic will pull off of commodity and go to either Internet 2 or to a peering service. And so just by default, I2PX provides great access to a lot of services. But George is right. It's usually latency that we find. If somebody is having some sort of weird latency issues with going through I2PX, that the more dedicated direct peering, especially as you point out, George, to services that require that kind of thing. NCAR, for example, uses some supercomputing and some storage in the cloud. And so, in those cases, we need better access to those supercomputing resources. And so, in that case, we would put dedicated services in. So it is really how sensitive your services are to needing dedicated bandwidth or less latency.
And and to Internet 2 and to the regionals as well, it's not a money thing for us at all, right? It's whatever the best solution is for you. So we're very happy to work with you and figure out what the best solution is. Sometimes the best solution is the peering you're getting from your regional network. It doesn't even involve I2PX. So lots of resources available to you is the message I'd like you to walk away with. And what we always say with Internet 2, yes. When people say, can you get us to the cloud? We say yes, and then we'll work with you and our regional partners to figure out the best way to do that. So if you leave this call knowing you've got some resources available to you, please take advantage of them.
All right. Well, thank you, George. We appreciate your presentation and information you shared. We are going to kind of jump a little bit because Justin is able to be with us just for a short period of time. He is joining us from New World Symphony down in Florida. We're very happy to have him here. So with that, I am going to kick it over to Justin.
Hey, everybody. And thanks to Letha for this opportunity to share.
Oops.
We're fighting over the mute button. Can you hear me okay? I'm guessing you can. Okay. So for those unaware, New World is a unique organization in the US. We are the only traditional postgraduate music academy. And what that ultimately means is that the students who make up our orchestra, which is what the student population looks like, are graduates, recent graduates from some of the top conservatories, both domestically and around the world. We've been affiliate members of Internet 2 since roughly 2002. We'll need somebody to check that date for me, but I've been with the organization since 2007. And so as a unique organization in the performing arts and classical music, we're squarely focused on experimentation around how to build audiences while also preserving the art form and ensuring its viability into the future. So a lot of that is obviously tied to technology and in many cases our use of Internet 2 and Internet 2 services. We utilize Internet 2 primarily for streaming of very high resolution media and in some cases multi-channel audio streams for the purposes of distance education, more or less. That's a simplified way to look at it. So our musicians, fellows, while they are with us over up to 3 years, train with some of the most accomplished guest artists, faculty members around the world, and a lot of that is facilitated through video conferencing, both traditional and non-traditional, which leverages Internet 2's network. So for this year, we're actually doing we're continuing a pretty cool line of projects, which are known as Blue Projects within New World Symphony, which is part of the entrepreneurial education program here. Essentially, we provide a certain amount of financial resources and infrastructure and personnel resources to the musicians to brainstorm some cool idea. They are kind of all over in the place in terms of what they ultimately end up looking like. But some of them in the past have included remote collaborations with dance companies, visual artists, or other musical ensemble members who are not physically in Miami with us, who participate remotely through communications technology, and an internet too. But I wanted to mention that just to say that these are projects, as I said, meant to promote New World's mission in terms of building audiences and prevalence of classical and orchestral music in society. So if you have an organization, if you're an affiliate member who that sounds interesting to, I always like to suggest to our musician fellows that when they're creating these ideas, there are external partners with whom they might work, who, and particularly Internet 2 members, are advantageous for obvious reasons. The other things we're looking at, and this is all related to pandemic, as a performing arts organization, the pandemic had unique impacts for us. And as things open back up or have been opening back up, the principal challenge for us is understanding where audiences are. There is a huge desire to be back in concert halls and in performance venues, but there's also this insatiable appetite that the pandemic created for streamed content and the ability to do events in a hybrid fashion. So understanding how to serve all of those different constituencies is a challenge that we are continuing to try to figure out. As far as what Internet 2's most valuable resource to us has been, is the human network. So the other affiliate members, the other universities and researchers who make up the technological network have been source of inspiration for projects, experiments, and truly impactful and transformative artistic experiences. And I include on this side the reference to NPAPW, which stands for the Network Performing Arts Production Workshop, which is an annual gathering of performing arts members of Internet 2 and all of the peering networks to get together and talk about interesting projects that people have been working on, technological developments that have impact for the performing arts. And that conference just actually concluded in, goodness, I can't even remember the location. In Estonia was our host city this year. So that'll happen again, likely in the next academic calendar. So I would encourage you to keep an eye out for some kind of announcement through Internet 2's newsletter system, which I'm sure will happen. So beyond that, like I said, our biggest thing this year has been, or post-pandemic, has been trying to figure out how to serve all of the audiences that we've created through all of the online media and content we've generated through the pandemic, while not ignoring our in-person audiences, which are equally important. So thank you for the opportunity to share that information. If anyone has questions, I'd be happy to try to answer them.
I will say I have had the privilege the past couple of years to be part of the NPAPW program committee and kind of support their efforts. And it's pretty cool to see what they have been doing. And I would encourage anyone to go out to the website and look at that information and see the videos that they've been able to put together, how they've been able to collaborate from different countries and stuff. It's really neat to see. So I would definitely encourage anyone to go and check that work out that they're doing. And thank you, Justin, for being here. I really appreciate it. I know you were fitting us in and everything. And I really am grateful to have you, because what I love about our presenters today is it shows the diversity of organizations within this membership category of affiliates. So you're really getting to see the different types of work that you all do. And I think it's really cool to see. So thank you. Any questions for Justin?
Justin, was there something about the pandemic, maybe a technology challenge about the pandemic that really caught you all by surprise, that you just wouldn't have imagined?
Well, so we've always had robust technological resources at the building, which we conduct our business in. That's a really awkward way to say that, but you can see in that picture on the slide, that's in the interior of our performance hall. This is a building that was designed in 2011 by Frank Gehry, and the statistic everyone likes to throw around is something like 17 miles of optical fiber just inside the building's infrastructure. I think it's much more than that at this point. But so the big technological challenge for us was actually translating what we do from a distance learning standpoint to the commodity internet, more or less.
Yeah, the small
So,
screen. Yeah.
Yeah, because we have a lot of, it's a 4K broadcast production facility, and with cameras all over the place, tons of connectivity, obviously. And so it was a question of how to translate the typical distance learning experience for our fellow musicians who were not with us during at least the first year of pandemic, and create an immersive academic calendar that could be facilitated mostly through Zoom and other commercial tools, taking the place of the more interesting things we normally do. So that was the biggest challenge, and now we're dealing with a new set of students who we now have to inspire and educate in terms of what we've done in the past with Internet 2 technology and connectivity, and hopefully, help them ideate new and more exciting projects to leverage the network. So that is what I'm focused on now.
Thank you, Justin.
Mhm.
All right, now we are going to transition to introduce our newest member that just joined this month, Alameda Health System. And so I'm kicking it over to Christine.
Thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Happy Friday. I'm Christine Yang, VP and Chief Technology Officer at Alameda Health Systems. We located in San Francisco Bay Area, and we are a integrated public health care system of 5 hospitals and 4 wellness centers. We have over 800 beds and 1,000 physicians. We are one of the 2 county hospital is now fully managed in California. County hospital now fully managed by the county, but rather a public health system, a teaching hospital. We affiliate with the Alameda County. So a couple of facts of Alameda Health System. So if you see the picture, this is our flagship Highland Hospital. We have a very over 100-year-old landmark in the front, and then we built a new facility in the back. So we're supporting the Alameda, which is Oakland, Berkeley's, that area. Maybe you heard of those cities if you're not familiar with San Francisco Bay Area. One of the things I want to call out just from on the left-hand side, some of the delivery systems is that we are the only level 1 trauma center on the East Bay of the San Francisco Bay Area EDs. And then that's one of the best ED training systems that a lot of physicians, if you want to be an ED physician, that's where you want to have your residencies at. You learn a lot more than some of the other areas of the ED. The other one is a psychiatric hospital. So we have a psychiatric ED and then a hospital. So the training program and for the ED as well as the inpatient as one of the area physician graduates want to go to. We also, as a teaching hospital, we provide some of the key areas of a training for UCSF, other medical programs. So that's the kind of the top service lines I put here. Our mission is caring, hearing, teaching, and serving out, because we're serving a very diverse population in the patient in the San Francisco Bay Area, and we are a safety net hospital. Next page. So I'm very excited to be part of the I2 affiliate community. Just for the two presentation I just listened to, and I already learned quite a bit. And then actually, George, I would love to have my enterprise architect, network enterprise architect, and then my infrastructure director talk to you, because we have quite a bit of things going on in that front. I actually came from Stanford Medical School, of 24 years working at Stanford. So we were part of I2 from the high ed. So it's a different community group I'm joining, and I'm very much interested to continue that collaboration and relationship. So from Alameda Health, what we focus on is really we found out just recently that one of our 2 data centers is going to be closing down. So we have to do a data center migration. We just identified our new data center, and that is 200 applications supporting our hospital has to be migrated. So it's a huge undertaking. I'm a new CTO at Alameda. I'm 7 months in, so I'm working with our team working on redesigning and standardize our architectures, and then create a disaster recovery strategy, which is not quite there yet. As part of that, also unified communication redesign, I think we wanted to modernize it. We still have quite an old phone system in our organization. The challenges really leading up to some of the work we are working on, in addition to I just mentioned, is the cybersecurity front. We have a pretty young cybersecurity program, 3 years old actually. Before that, we didn't even have a CISO. So I'm working very hard to build a program and educate our executive team, so we will get the best support to get that program matured as quickly as possible. And when I joined the Zoom earlier, I heard about talking about the hybrid and people in the office and everything. It's definitely a challenge for us. I think when it started, the folks, we're a hospital 24/7. Of course, the nursing, the clinicians are always on site. But all the support services, I think we just didn't standardize that. And then there's a lot of just whatever makes it work. And now I'm just going to do kind of a process going on. So I want to standardize that including the call centers and then, the other supporting services. And technical refresh from the endpoint all the way to the infrastructure, the connectivities and everything. That's definitely one of the things I'm focusing on. So that's where we are. And for me as a new CTO at Alameda Health, what I'm trying to focus on, and I think a lot of those definitely wanted to, I heard about what Justin and Marla talk about that, hey, get out, reaching out to the resources in the I2 to say, hey, I don't know who I need to get help from, but I have this, challenge and I have this need. I sounds like just for the 30 minutes, it sounds like this is a great community to really get the help from. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Christine. In the interest of time, I'm going to wait to have questions at the end. We have a couple more presenters and I want to make sure they have the time that they need. So we are going to jump to J. Paul Getty. Petrus.
Thank you. I'm Petrus Williams. I'm with the J. Paul Getty Trust. I'm an assistant director for infrastructure and operations, which is the servers, the networks, and everything else. Been with the Getty for 24 years. I woke up and it's been 24 years. The Getty is a sort of unique institution. We call ourselves a cultural institution. We basically have, as everyone, we're up in Los Angeles, up on a hill in Los Angeles in Brentwood. We have a museum displaying objects typically from the 17th and 18th century. So that's how a lot of people know the Getty. a lot. We also have a library, which is the largest art history library as far as collection of books and manuscripts. We have a conservation institute, which works with the museum in restoring a lot of the older artwork, but it also works in the area of architecture and other objects, and that work is international. And a lot of times it's working with countries and preserving their cultural heritage, and especially in a lot of war-torn countries, like places in the Middle East, that Conservation Institute has gone out there and helped them restore some of the damaged masterpieces. While we are new to Internet 2, I think we joined in 2018. Around that time, back in 2016, we got a new CIO who basically came out of the academic world, and he basically said, "You guys need to be on Internet 2. Why aren't you on Internet 2?" And we had no idea what he was talking about, but we connected up, also joined up with EDUCAUSE, and our local regional is Scenic, and they are great. I have to say, they are really, the type of work that they do is fantastic. And in fact, this past week, I've been at a Scenic conference and learning about the kind of things that they do. One of the reasons that a new CIO came into the Getty is because we got a mandate from the Board of Trustees, and this was pre-COVID, basically saying, yeah, we like the fact that the Getty is, definitely premise focused. I mean, bring people here, get to see what we do, but we want to expand our reach. We want to reach more people. We want to reach internationally. We also want to reach people who, for some reason, just can't get to the Getty, but want to have the experience and want to know what we do, what kind of objects we have. And so that was the mandate that was put in front of us. It was get digital as much as you can and as quickly as you can. So when that was mentioned, we thought of AWS as the way of doing that. So we put together a plan, or Rich put together a plan to use AWS, signed up with AWS through Internet 2, and then decided to take advantage of their services. Not a silver bullet at first, because the bad thing about using AWS is if you use AWS and do everything the way you used to do it, ain't gonna work. So we had developers that were basically developing down on their Mac workstations, and they did all their development, did their work, and they got it to the point where they were ready to put it into production, and they basically old school threw it over the wall and said, here are operations, here, Petrus, get your team to put this in AWS. And of course, trying to do that was kind of a nightmare. We basically had to recode everything to get it to work in AWS. And, that was a process that was painful, a lot of back and forth, a lot of rewriting, a lot of redos. It took months to get things into production. So we said, hey, we got to do some things differently. So, and the little chart that I have on the right-hand side, basically, not to turn this into a DevOps session, but that's essentially what we did is we started thinking in the DevOps way. So on the next slide, basically talked about our first step was basically to use, and this is just a whole bunch of AWS tools to do that: code build, code pipeline, container services. Their development was all in Docker. So they did use those containers to develop, and those had to be deployed in AWS. And that's where my team had to do a lot of refactoring to get it in AWS. What we did is, again, in the DevOps fashion, we had to we had the developers learn the AWS tools so that they could get into AWS. And yeah, when the code was moved into the AWS environment, they moved it into the AWS environment at first with help of my DevOps engineers, and basically said, okay, now we'll learn this and we can deploy. So a lot less confusion. Things were more the way they liked them because they were developing, but that was still a high learning curve for those developers. They were not familiar with the AWS tools and their services. So fast forward, next slide. And this slide is sort of makes it seem like, oh yeah, we just went over to this whole new environment. But this was an iterative process. Just trying to figure out what set of tools worked best. And this is where we sit today, but we had a lot of in between there. Basically, there were some of the AWS tools that, since the developers still were not familiar with, they had a tool that they were using down at their desktop that was deploying application and deploying code. And so they're using that tool in AWS. One of the other things, AWS has their container services. AWS also has, there's a service called Kubernetes, which is a complex service, but once we learned it, both the developers and my DevOps team loved it. It gave the developers a lot more insight into their code and what was happening with their code once deployed. So they loved it. And there were some other tools that they needed to get familiar with, Argo CD, and again, a lot of terms, but to help them manage putting things over in Kubernetes and the ETS clusters. And so now we can get from GitHub, which is their code repository, can all the way into AWS and put things in production. So we consider it being right now in our happy place, and which is good. Some more, we're looking at even doing some further things. We have some tools, Terraform and Ansible, to further automate the whole process for the developers. We want to get them to the point that my DevOps engineers would set this up, and then once they do, the developers to do further similar deployments, just push a button and it just takes them into their staging environment, and then a head developer can push a button and put it into their production environment. Next slide. Just some other AWS stats. We have 6 AWS Kubernetes clusters. We have 107 custom development services running in EKS. And one thing to mention, custom development for us was new. This was, everything used to be off the shelf. Wasn't until Rich came in as a new CIO and pushed us into AWS and put together this team that we started doing custom development. We were also doing, early on, we were doing things like running Oracle on AWS instances and Postgres on AWS instances. We've now started to take advantage of Oracle on AWS Aurora, which is like this. We have a database and we can make our database look like any other database. So, you know, it can look like Oracle, it can look like Postgres, and again, it was a slow process getting there, but we works very well for our sort of, I would call it bare metal instances. We do have storage tied to those instances, and so we have 4 AWS file systems tied to instances, and we have 600 terabytes of S3 storage in AWS today. Most of that is basically images. We use AWS. Some of them are live images and some of them are archives, but it's a lot. And I don't know where I ended up. Was that the last slide? Oh, just a list of some deployments. If you that those custom developers have done. If you look out, our Getty.edu website is now all in AWS. There's a site which is really cool. It's called 12 Sunset. Basically, there's an artist, photographer, Ed Ruscha. Basically, we have a historic street in Los Angeles called Sunset Boulevard. He took a truck and a camera on top and went up and down Sunset Boulevard, taking pictures of buildings and everything else. And he did that for like, I don't know, 10 years. But what we've done is in 12 Sunset, you can actually go down the street the way he did and see those images. You can pick a year and see the images of Sunset Boulevard, those photographs, or you can superimpose. You can have two timelines running and see the changes and compare. So it's really a cool application. Experiments, we just do that in AWS. We put things that were sort of kicking the tires on. One of the things that came out of here was with Animal Crossing, we basically we created an application where if you use Animal Crossing, you can use Getty artwork that we have in the galleries and put them in your living room. You want to display them in Animal Crossing. So some things we had fun with. And then we have a whole framework for images that's used by many universities, many museums. It's called IFFF, and that whole framework is built in AWS, and we support that. So AWS has been great. Internet 2 relationship to get that going. We also, with the pandemic, use Zoom, and that's through Internet 2. And our challenge is going to be just, so we use AWS, we get these things out there, but how do we measure that we're having an impact with the things that we're putting out in AWS? So that's my story.
Thank you, Petros. Really appreciate it. We are going to move to Charles. And just so everyone knows, all of this is going to be posted on our website and made available. So all the links and everything, you all will have access, and this recording will also be posted out there. So if there's anything that you want to come back and listen to or need to check up on, it will all be made available. So with that, Charles, kick it to you.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Charles. I'm the CIO over at the New York Genome Center. The center has been around since 2011, and we've been an affiliate member of I2 since I think late 2015 or 2016. That relationship was already in place when I joined. I joined the center in 2017. And so as I said, it was founded in 2011. It was a partnership between multiple academic institutions in the city. And the goal was to sort of create a genomics-focused biotech hub in New York City. There was a lot of genomics expertise that was leaving the city to go to the Broad Institute, Massachusetts, or Helix and other areas. And so a lot of the healthcare institutes in the city wanted to have genomics expertise locally. So the New York Genome Center was created at that point. And it became sort of a nexus and a hub of collaboration for a lot of people doing genomics work, both in the city and outside of the tri-state area. And if you go on our second slide, just sort of a description of the different collaboration points. So as I said, it was founded by members that are still members to this day. So you have institutes like Cold Spring Harbor Labs, Columbia University, NYU, Memorial Sloan Kettering, all names that people have heard, who have become members of the New York Genome Center and pay their membership every year to fund our research and efforts in genomics. We focus primarily on 3 big disease areas right now. Cancer is a big area of research. There's a lot of progress being made with cancer programs using whole genome sequencing. And so our labs are very active in that area. We also work with neurodegenerative diseases, so diseases like Alzheimer's, Huntington's, Lewy body. So all of these diseases are neurodegeneratives, and a ton of information is provided through whole genome sequencing through researchers working in that area. And the third disease area is neuropsychiatric areas. So diseases like schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, attention deficit, all of these areas can be studied using genomics. And we have some of our researchers involved in that research as well. As of 2019, late 2019, 2020, like every other research institute, we also have COVID now as sort of a research vector. It was not the initial intent, but there was not much else going on during the pandemic. So early in the pandemic, we developed a COVID expertise. So did a lot of viral surveillance for the area, did host sequencing to try to understand why some people develop long COVID. So there was a lot of research efforts focused on COVID. And our third and last slide. So I2 was initially brought in primarily for connectivity. So we have wet labs with a lot of sequencing instruments, a lot of them provided by Illumina, that generate a vast amount of data. So all of that was processed on-prem. So our current data center counts about 11,000 cores of computing power. I have roughly 20 to 29 petabytes of data that's live on the file system at any given time. And all of that is data that's been sequenced, and a lot of it destined for a researcher that's remote. So I2 just made sense because a lot of our partners were on Internet 2 already. A lot of the customers that were going to receive data were on Internet 2 already. So for high throughput deliveries, we went to Internet 2 as an option. And then the relationship grew from there. So we now have through the NetPlus program, we have our Google Cloud contract, which has allowed us to move more and more towards the cloud as an option, because our data center can't grow forever. So we wanted to have cloud abilities, and so ported a lot of our healthcare pipelines to Google Cloud, and have all of that as an option now. And so the third in phase will be Cloud Connect, which, as it was just presented, is definitely the next step for us to have better connectivity to our cloud footprint. We want to look at these Cloud Connect option through our regional, which is NicerNet. So working with genomics data is challenging because of the size of the data sets. And so having I2 as a partner to move that data around has been instrumental for us. And that's it for me.
Thank you. And so thank you all so much for being here. Really appreciate it. And as I said before, all of this is going to be made available. We'll post this out on our website, and I can also send, well, the file might be too large. I don't know if I could send you the actual file individually via email, but it will be made available. I can send you an email with the link to where it's posted. But again, thank you all so much. Really appreciate it. Appreciate your time and appreciate you being part of the community. And for the presenters that shared today, thank you for sharing what your organizations are up to and just for being here. So, and if you have any questions, because I want to be respectful of everybody's time, please feel free to email me. You have my email address there, but I also think you should have it anyway. And you know, if you have any questions for any of the presenters, you can shoot me an email and I'm happy to help make connections or reach out and get the answers for you. So with that, I will let you all go, and I hope you all have a great rest of your day and enjoy your weekend. Thank you.